Hello, everybody. My name is Hal Kaiser, and welcome to Alone in the Dark. This is not the original Alone in the Dark for any of you that are too young to remember the iconic game series. I think the original came out in like 92 to 90. No, it probably was like 96. It was somewhere in the 90s. It came out before Resident Evil. So let me check it. Let me Google this so people won't get on to me. The original Alone in the Dark came out. Well, this is just telling about all the different publishers. This is talking about the series. The original came out in 1992, so I was right. For the 3DO and for PC. And then you had Jak in the Dark, which I think was later translated to like Alone in the Dark, One-Eyed Jak's Revenge or something like that. Then there was Alone in the Dark 2, which doesn't have its date listed here. Alone in the Dark 3, which 2 and 3 were not as good as the original. On Metacritic, the original holds a score of 90%. Which is really good, especially for an early PC game. Early 3D, I should specify. The second one holds a 70. Respectable. The third has a 60. And then, I remember playing this as a little kid. Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare on PC, Game Boy Color, Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, and in Europe it had a PS2 port. And then there was Alone in the Dark, the 2008 version, which I played. Then there was the god-awful Alone in the Dark Illumination, which I also had the unfortunate displeasure of playing. And now there's this one. This game is not a remake. It says on the Wikipedia page, I'm quoting here, it is a reimagining of the 1992 original. And so it originally started off as a remake after the release of Alone in the Dark Inferno. If you don't know what Inferno was, the original PC and Xbox 360 version of the 2008 Alone in the Dark game, I thought was very ambitious. And if you ever get the chance, you should play it and just see what I mean. I think it was like a precursor to an early VR game, if you want to know the truth. I think if they ever re-released it as a VR game, that game would be really fun. But it had a lot of problems, and I'm not going to get into them now because I would like us to play this game. But on the PS3, they addressed some of these issues, such as the driving controls and some other little things, as a version called Alone in the Dark Inferno, which is the best way to play that if you want to. So this was started in like 2009 or 2010 originally, but the liquidation of the studio by Atari canceled the game in 2013. And then due to the poor reception of Illumination in 2016, Atari SA sold Alone in the Dark to THQ Nordic, who now owns it in 2018. And now Pieces Interactive are the guys who made this game. And they have made Magicka 1 and 2. That's what they're known for. If you've not played Magicka, it's like a 1 to 4 player local co-op, little cutesy magic game, kind of like a twin stick shooter. Me and my mom used to play Magicka 1 and 2 in like 2014, stuff when I was like 14 and stuff. We just chill out, sometimes play some fighting games together, and Magicka was one of her favorites. Now, some of the guys on this team, the game was written by Mikhail Hedberg, who worked at Frictional Games on Soma and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. The writer is the same one who wrote on the team with 2 of the most popular horror games of recent times. And then the artist, Guy Davis, is known for his work with Guillermo del Toro, and he has his comic series, The Marquise, and he designed the monsters. And then the series creator, Frederick Reynal, gave his blessing to the reimagining, saying that Pieces Interactive did a great job preserving the core feeling of the original game. I have not really looked up any spoilers because I really want to play this game, but the reviews for it have been mixed. Right now, this is the day of release. It holds a mostly positive on Steam. On Metacritic, it holds about a 67. IGN gave it a 6 out of 10, GameSpot a 4 out of 10, Eurogamer gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, PC Gamer gave it a 76 out of 100. So everybody gave it about a 7. So that's 76 from PC Gamer, is about the highest review this game has gotten. There's not really any specific reasons. From what I've seen on Steam, without looking up spoilers, there's a lot of bugs at the moment. So that might get patched out later. This is already version 1.02, so there must have been a hot fix that I didn't notice. I want to give full disclosure to this game. I got this game on a site, like Green Man and Humble. I didn't buy it off Steam. And I got it from $60 to $30. So I got it half off. So if I judge this game, I'm going to judge it from the standpoint of what I paid for it and the full price. But this game sells right now for $60 on Steam. And so full disclosure there. And then the last thing to say about this game is, like I said, Alone in the Dark has been dead as a series since, realistically, I'm not going to count Illumination because it was just an awful Left 4 Dead clone is what it was. And so it's been dead since 2016 if you count that, so 17, 18, 19, 20. It's been dead 8 years. And if you go further, it's been dead 16 years because 2008 was the last proper game in the franchise. So I'm going to say it's been dead for 16 years. And this series is the godfather. People say that Resident Evil is the godfather of survival horror, but if so, this is the true father. The original Alone in the Dark, which came out on DOS, and it is available on Steam if you want to play it, was like the first 3D survival horror game. And I went back and played that game recently when I was looking forward to this game coming out, and I will say there's a lot of similarities. For example, the mansion aesthetic and the inventory management and the puzzles, the environmental puzzles. There's a lot of things that were done to make the game very interesting and very cramped, and it was very impressive for the time. But Resident Evil took the ground that Alone in the Dark laid and just poured the foundation and made it what it is. You play as, I cannot ever remember the woman's name, Victoria or something like that, but a woman or a guy named Edward Carnby, who's a private investigator, and they go to this house and bad things ensue. Let's just word it that way. Now, about the voice cast, they actually did hire 2 big name actors. The woman playing, I can never remember her name. I cannot. David Harbour and Jodie Comer. Emily Hartwood or Edward Carnby. Edward Carnby is being played by David Harbour, most famously of Stranger Things fame. Great actor, I love him. I also loved him a lot in Violent Night, a great Christmas movie. Now one of my favorites next to Die Hard. And then Emily Hartwood is voiced by Jodie Comer, and both of them also share their faces for the characters. If you don't know who she is, she plays one of the main characters in a popular television show called Killing Eve. I've seen a couple episodes. I don't really know much about it. I can't say I'm a big fan of her because I don't know much of her work. Now, I always like to go into the options menu, show you guys PC port. It looks good. Basic game control stuff. Control layout, I'm playing on a controller because it's a third-person game. Basic stuff. You can turn off button mashing and just have it be a hold down if you have hand problems, sound settings, display settings, so HDR, chromatic aberration. I turned off depth of field and motion blur. And then we're running it at 4K with DLAA on, which just makes the image stronger. Everything is on epic quality, and anisotropic filtering's on 16. So that's about all there is to know about this game, really. So now let's get into it. We'll be playing on standard. Okay, difficulty. Modern, extra help provided to make the gameplay experience smoother and easier, including hints and helpful highlights. Old school, for those who want to find out everything for themselves. I'll just have it on modern for now. Hello, frog. That is not the most impressive frog texture I've ever seen. And a Gatorade. Can you pause the cutscenes? No, you can't. Or at least I can't. I want to say one thing about the actors. I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but when I saw in the trailer that these two big name actors, and they even said one's from Killing Eve and one's from Stranger Things, were in this game, I'm afraid that the budget for the game mostly went to hiring these actors. I've seen it before. Remember Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty?
What's wrong with him?
And so I hope that's not the case here.
As in the devil?
Something like that. He says a dark man is following him, watching him at all times.
You sure he's not just, like,
What do you
schizophrenic?
It's nonsense, of course. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't bother me. You see, it runs in my family.
Then it's not possession.
No, detective. Deteriorating melancholy. Practically every member of the Hartwood family is driven mad before they grow old.
Why does this remind me of the area...
But Jeremy didn't kill himself.
Down in...
Is that why he's at your setup?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Despite being convinced that he is truly possessed,
Where
he decided to put
the
his
two
last
families
chips on
live.
Dr. Gray and his psychoanalysis, figuring he might stumble upon some cure.
Man, the frame rate's bad in these cutscenes. It's locked at 60 FPS in the cutscenes, and
You
it's
mentioned
just
the letter.
struggling to hold that.
I received
And I'm
a
running on
disturbing
a
letter from
NVIDIA
Jeremy accusing
GTX
the staff
4070
and all the other
Ti with an
patients of being
i9
involved in some
processor.
cult. And now they are also out to get him.
Could it be real? Or is it all just in his head?
It's a story he tells himself, Mr. Carnby. Anything to avoid the truth.
Which is?
That we're all terribly insignificant. That people mean so very little to one another. That there is no one out to get Jeremy Hartwood because he isn't worth getting.
Yeah, here we are.
This game is set in like the 30s, by the way, if you couldn't tell from the old car. I wish I had a cigarette. I
My
smoke
uncle's
cigars
not well,
mostly,
Mr.
though.
Carnby. I want to make sure he's all right.
Then what's my part in this? You couldn't get a cab?
I just wouldn't feel safe going alone.
In the original, it's like she sends him to go get something out of a piano, is what
Did
I
you bring a
remember. So
gun?
this is a little different.
Yeah. You think it'll actually come to that?
No. But you might need to wave it around depending on how agreeable the staff will be.
What exactly are we gonna do when we find Jeremy?
I don't know. Let's just find him first.
Why'd you leave your headlights on, man? That's just gonna drain the alternator. Okay, now you get to choose your character. Yeah, even here, see, they have to put the actress's name, Jodie Comer, or Edward Carnby. I don't know if this is going to be like Resident Evil 2, where there's a slight difference in story between Leon and Claire, or if it's going to be like the Resident Evil 2 remake, where the only thing you're getting essentially is a male or female character with very little in between. As much as I loved the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I want to play it for you guys at some point, the original was much better in that regard, at least the stories being different and stuff. I'm going to play as Edward to go with first. I don't... If it's a separate story, we'll play it, but I have a feeling it's not. Because modern game developers don't want to waste money on stuff like that. And also, because both of these characters are high-profile actors playing them, they're not going to waste voice acting on a story you may never hear.
Hello?
Looks
If you don't
abandoned.
play it.
It can't be. There has to be someone around.
Garage door's open.
Wait here. I'll go around back.
Why not just go together? If there's a staff, you could just go in and then she could identify herself. Okay, frame rate is running at 85, 80 FPS at the moment. Man, that blurs awful when you turn the camera. And look, I'm just turning the camera, and my frame rate went from like 80 to 60. I wonder if I turn on like and then what's it called in the options? I'm not going to do it just yet. DLSS. And put it on quality if that would help, but I don't think so because it's not me, it's everybody saying there's performance issues. Also, let me try to understand this game because I don't understand it. Because, like I said in the original, it was a piano that they were looking for or something, or at least that was like the opening. And it's been a while since I played the original. I replayed it recently, but the story was light and it really didn't stick in my head. I was just struggling against those old controls. So this woman, it's like her brother or her father or someone, thinks he's being followed by somebody. He's got like this conspiracy theory in his head that somebody's out to kill him. She thinks it's nonsense. She asks for a private detective to come with her and wave a gun at the staff, which is strange, especially if that's her family. And she wants to see him, but she doesn't really think there's anyone after him. I'm not a private detective, but I am a criminal justice major. I'm in college at the moment for that. And I can tell you right now, that woman is hiding a lot of secrets. And if I was him, I would have just dropped her off and said, keep the money for this job. Because when somebody... This seems like this is setting up for some sort of murder. This is not the sort of thing where you just follow a woman blindly.
Now what do we got here?
A clue is a flashlight. Kitchen garden key. Okay. I love the jazz music. I'm a sucker for like noir themed aesthetics. That's one of the reasons I want to be a cop. I own a trench coat. I do have a fedora like that and vest. And I do love to play the part. But before I start talking about the music, there's something else I was going to say. You know, I know that this game series is kind of old. I was born in 2000, and the games predate me, the original. I didn't play them until I was an adult. I played the New Nightmare and the 2008 version, and that's what I grew up playing. Man, the frame rate is stuttering. And I thought the title was always cool. Alone... I'm just going to pause real quick. Alone in the Dark is a cool and simple title. You know, you are alone in the dark. What more is there? But I was looking on the Steam forums. It's like the top pinned discussion is, why is there such a horrible title? How would you know you's alone if you's in the dark? Are people of this generation really so stupid that they don't understand the subtlety of a good title? How would you know you're alone? It's not how would you know if you're alone. You are by yourself in the dark is the title. And like Resident Evil has a better title. I prefer the Japanese title, Biohazard. At least that fits in with the theme. Resident Evil just sounds like, okay, so there's a resident who's evil. It doesn't make sense as in, like, I think what they were going for is that the mansion is evil. So like, Evil Estate would make more sense. What did I get? Pistol bullets. Can I pull up a license? Edward Carnby, PI, Louisiana State Board of Private Examiners. 7 Decatur Street, NO, New Orleans.
Louisiana State Board of Private Investigator Examiners grants the following license to Edward Carnby, Decatur Street, New Orleans. License number 196692-LA. Good until May 15th, 1930.
So yeah, this is the 20s then. Lasting death.
Carnby, why am I hearing from Gloria Allen that you got some job at the loony bin? You better not be thinking of paying her off before me. I don't want to take you for a ride, so get me my money. I'll be at the Maccabean all night if you score some dough. Obed Morton.
Okay, what's Lagnapes? Lagnapas? What the heck is that supposed to be? English, please. It looks like artifacts or something. Okay.
Deseto, the old plantation building, was ready to fall, but kept alive by some starry-eyed carpetbagger called Dr. Gray. Seeing how the staff couldn't even be bothered with answering the door, Detective Carnby figured they would just head inside and grab Jeremy. He just needed to open the front door for Emily first, so she could talk to her uncle.
So it's her uncle. Also, I like the voice of the narrator for the objectives. So there's a map, but we ain't got one. And then that's what we get. I got 2 bullets on backup for my pistol. And then what's that? A flask. Is there eyes in that? The eyes are gone, but nothing jump. I think something was supposed to jump. Holy crap, Batman. The frame rate just went down to 30 and now it's stuck at 60.
Nah, I'm not getting in there.
You have a gun, my friend. You could just shoot that lock off. The frame rate's holding 60 for the most part. This was, at one point, a nice property. Man, you turn the flashlight on and off. I'm going to go into the options real quick and turn on some quality DLSS and see if that helps. Nope. As soon as it went up to 93 FPS, and now it's staying there for now, but then it dropped back down to 30. But it does seem like there's a little less stuttering for now, so I'll leave it on. Nope. As soon as you walk, it goes down to... Holy crap. So it really isn't me. It's just this game is not in good condition. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. What the...
Whoa. That's one big tree to fit inside a conservatory.
That's very pretty. Is it... Man, the frame rate is terrible.
What?
That is some creepy crap. I will say they got kind of the atmosphere down. If only they'd fixed the bloody frame rate. This game is struggling right now to hold even 60 FPS. And I got it on quality. It's not like I need it on there either. I'm just going to go ahead and take it off. The problem is just that the game is busted. This game needs a performance patch pretty quickly. Why did he draw his gun? And he won't go through there. And I want to say so far, this game doesn't look bad, and I don't want to put it down right off the bat. But if you take a look at some of these textures and stuff, like that tree has no physics. Oh, there's a slight rustling there, but like for the most part, it's plain. This game looks more like a late PS3, early PS4 title, just off the bat. Then it does a PS5 current gen game sort of thing. So he can't go up those stairs. So what am I looking for exactly? Oh, soured water in there. Can this game just stay stable for a couple of minutes? I'd really appreciate it if it could. So I got a flask. It's got 2 charges in it, but he won't use it. There's a key. Housekeeper's key. Sweet. Then the tree is making noise. Okay, I got my first achievement, break into Dercado. Anything here? There's some keys there, Edward. I'd grab them. Whiskey.
Don't mind if I do.
So that's health. So his flask restores his health. Okay. Man, I wish this frame rate would hold up better. Matches. Physics on that drawer. Old-fashioned wash. That's how my grandmother cleaned her clothes. Pan and washboard. And man, that was my grandmother's old-fashioned dryer. My grandmother was born in the 20s, in case you're wondering. Here's a book. Family Bible.
Every day your
My mom had one of
silence
those.
weighs a little heavier. It's been a difficult year for everyone, and many have lost all hope. I read in the papers about people suffering. Pictures of dust-covered landscapes without a drop of water. I wish I knew if you were still tending the earth, or if you had turned your back against us. I have started to look for help elsewhere. I pray you will tell me if I am going down a path that you find disagreeable. With help from Baptiste and Charlotte, I found comfort in the practice of the voodoo.
Ugh.
I have long been skeptical of that Caribbean cult, but it's been of good use to me. It seems all harmless in my book. I say some words dreamt up by the Creoles, and I carry around a small pocket of gris-gris. Nothing of this is mentioned in the Bible, of course, but the French Quarter priestess tells me it's all connected.
It is mentioned
She
in the
says
Bible,
the
lady.
Christian God is just one more perspective on the creator of things. That's what I like to think, but the other way around. That the spirits of her faith are just aspects of you, our Heavenly Father. I am so grateful for the words you gave Mr. Hartwood. We will sing your praises at St. John's Eve. The world will be blessed soon again. Only the sacrifices of the Old Testament compare to your demands. Let it be the truth. A mother of earth, wood, and dirt. A mother of 1,000 young.
Sacred sand, $1. Black cat oil, $1.50. Devil shoestrings, a quarter. That makes $2.75, madame.
What was that you were telling the doctor? A goat without horns. What does that mean?
Ah, you must have misheard me, madame. I said no such thing.
Please, I know I don't look like any of you, but I'm devout. I'm ready to do what it takes.
Do not be so eager to sacrifice the few things you have left, madame. Now please, leave my store.
A goat without horns.
Okay. I'm liking this so far. It's interesting. Voodoo is not something that I have practiced. I know of the practice. My grandmother was extremely superstitious and told me about stuff like that. In fact, I got a cross around my neck right now. I was holding while she's talking about that stuff. The Bible, I don't want to bash anybody. My religion is with me. I interpret it my way. I don't feel like I interpret the Bible the way some what you call regular, non-secular, I believe would be the word, people do. I believe that everybody's faith is their own, and the Bible says, judge not, lest you shall be judged. So I don't judge anybody for what they do. If some people say it's wrong for someone to be homosexual, the Bible says so, but it also says for me not to judge. You know, that's between you and the Lord. It doesn't say, you know, the Lord brought a thief that mocked him into heaven with him. And so anyone can repent, and God's mercy is great. You know, you do you, and I will support you fully, and I will not judge anyone for what they do. But I know that some people don't feel comfortable with Christianity, and so I don't want to talk about my faith too much and bother people, but I will say, as in reference to what she said, that nothing of this is mentioned in the Bible, of course. There's a story in Acts about a magician. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm not the biggest Bible person in the world, but I know it pretty well. And he's a magician. And he tries to buy the power of miracles from St. Peter. And he's rebuked for doing it, and is told of the judgment that's coming on him, and he asked St. Peter to please pray that those things that you just witnessed to me do not come through. Now, he does not say voodoo specifically, but there is magic in the world, and throughout the Old Testament and stuff, they were wonders and signs performed by other people. And then Paul says in the Bible, I think it's in 1 Corinthians or in Romans, that they are indeed many gods, but they are all under but they're all under the main God. And so she says how the voodoo religion and the spirits that they mention are part of the Christian God, or as she sees it, they're part of him. That's not entirely true. They would not be part of him, but they might be a spirit under him. Because Paul says there are indeed many gods, and so he doesn't say if there's like many heavens and stuff, but that makes me think like Hindu belief, Greek mythology, all that may exist and may be real deities, but of course, if you've read Greek mythology and stuff, like Zeus is the god of the sky, Poseidon's the god of the water, whereas the Christian God is master of it all. He can just speak and the waters part and the storm calms, so he's like a greater aspect than they are. So this woman, her voice is hard. I'm not good at telling somebody's color by their voice, and I think that's very hard to do. But from the way that they mention, it's not said on here, because it just says a goat without horns. With the audio transcript, she said something like, I know I'm not like the rest of you, or I don't look like you. So I'm assuming that she's a white woman, and she's writing this in the family Bible. And from the voice, I don't mean to sound in any way offensive, but I'm going to assume that the receipt voice was a black man. And so so she got into voodoo what got her into voodoo and stuff. I'm interested in this. And she's talking about St. John's Eve and the world will be blessed soon. Is this some sort of sub-cult of voodoo belief? And I can't remember the movie. I think it's called The Skeleton Key. I watched that. Wasn't that about a couple that were slaves that used voodoo to take over white people's body? Is this going to be something similar to that? I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. But this is getting interesting just from some of this stuff. And I don't know what all those ingredients are. The only thing that I do that would be considered maybe like of the extreme for Christian people is I study a little bit of esoteric stuff such as astronomy and tarot cards, horoscopes. I don't take them all to believe, like if my horoscope says, oh, today's the day where the world's going to come down on you. I just say what's going to be different from any other day. Man, they're giving me a lot of ammo. I got 12 bullets, so 2 full magazines, or cylinders in this case. I wish this frame rate would hold up. Very religious portraits. I don't know who that's supposed to be on the right, but I know the one on the left is supposed to be Jesus' mother, Mary. Food's on the stove. Is that gumbo? It looks like some gumbo. Man, I bet it would taste good. I love Cajun cooking. I grew up my mom was not the best cook, and she was a single mom, and she took care of me my whole life, but she wasn't a very good cook. And so I had to learn after my grandmother passed away how to either feed myself or die. And they got pigs and stuff hanging up, meat cleaver, sausages. Man, the frame rate can't hold. I can forgive the stuttering if it's like loading in a new area. That happens. But you mean to tell me that the game can't hold up long enough? See, I pick up an item, it stutters. If I look up or down, sometimes the game just stutters. It really needs a performance patch and ASAP. What's that? Rat poison. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know what that word is. Great Depression.
What was that?
They're non-essential items you can find through the game. They will uncover forbidden knowledge and sometimes even more. But anyways, I was saying before something happens, they carry over from game to game. Some sets can't even be completed without playing. So there are a bit of differences between the campaign. Okay, that's interesting. As I was saying, when I first learned to cook, I grew up in Tennessee. My grandmother's cooking was like fried taters, fried maters, fried chicken. Made the best cornbread I've ever tasted. Chicken and dumplings, boiled chicken, stuff like that was her kind of specialties. And I didn't know how to cook like that. I could never get it to the same level. Somebody was in here. I could never get it to the same level of my grandmother's cooking. And so I learned how to cook Cajun food. My father cooked jambalaya and stuff every once in a while. This place is creepy. And I kind of just studied a little of that and went from there and figured it out. And I love Cajun and Creole cooking. I love Japanese food too, and I learned how to cook quite a bit of that. But I grew up learning how to cook a lot of like New Orleans style dishes. Fried catfish is my favorite meal. Gumbo, jambalaya, all that stuff I really love. Streetcar ticket, another one of those words. Man, the footsteps echo. It sounds like someone's following you. I wonder if that's purposeful. And then you hear skittering around.
I need the key.
So this gate is locked. Can you crouch or anything? No, you gotta dodge. Oh, you do kind of have like a sneak. Man, all that is moving slightly slower than he was already moving. And God knows Edward ain't exactly moving in a hurry here. That goes upstairs. Boiler. And there's clearly puzzles. Sabotage.
Please do
clue.
not touch the boiler. It is working after all. While the sabotage has caused a leak, only the decorative plate has been completely ruined. Let's wait for Mr. Chance to turn up and he can take a look at the leak. Mr. Waits.
What do they mean, sabotage? So you can't get past that, I see. This does just give you the feel of a big old southern mansion sort of thing. I've seen a lot of these old places like this, and I'm telling you, they are massive cellars and lots of rooms, and they are creepy. And the wind does sometimes blow through them like that. Is that supposed to be piss? At one point in time, that was a nice bathtub. Nothing there. I could have swore there was somebody's head in that chair for a second. Is this going to be like your save rooms? Map. Okay, this is the orderly's room. So, there's a library, a parlor, a drawing room, a dining room, a grand parlor, a doctor's office, a clerk's office, then regular rooms. This is just, what, the first floor? Then in the basement area, there's a food and wine cellar, a kitchen garden, a garage, a conservatory, there's a laundry room, a pantry, a kitchen, the servants' stairs, and then you have private quarters, sitting rooms, gallery, and an attic. Man, nice place.
Okay.
I can't open that medicine box of that. Deck of cards and a cross. My grandmother would consider that a sin, and my mother. It took me years just to get my mother to play poker with me. Because she believes where they drew lots in the Bible, that was gambling and playing poker. And I said, no, they didn't have poker back then. Drawing lots is like drawing straws or like rolling dice. You know, it's a game of chance. Lottie's diary.
June 22nd. I spent all day looking for Jeremy. I should have cared for the others, but I'm scared that he will do something irreversible. Cassandra is upset that I didn't give her the latest shipment of pain medication that Waits brought from the post office yesterday. I would have given it to her, but the company didn't send a new key this time around, so the box is just sitting there on my desk. They must have figured we had plenty of their gimmicky keys by now. I only remember seeing one lately. Grace was playing with it inside the grand parlor. Unless it turns up by itself, it will have to wait. I have to figure out where Jeremy is. I think Jack knew something. That dog of his found a strange rot permeating the house. She's showing us, he said. Like those blots and streaks of fetid rot was talking to him.
Okay, so there's pain medication in there. So we need a key from the grand parlor. Okay, the map is updated. So blue means we cleared the area out, and pink means we haven't. So pretty straightforward. Resident Evil style. There's 2 doors here. That leads to the library. And one leads to the plaza and the stair hall. This leads to the library, but the door is locked.
I need the key.
This is just the stairs from where I was at. Edward could have just climbed up here and saved himself a lot of the trouble. I've done my fair share of climbing around old houses. As long as they ain't all the way rotten. Bear. Of course, there's a giant bear. Is that a heron? I've never been able to remember the name of those birds. Man, if the frame rate would hold together, I'd be really immersed in the atmosphere of this game, but the frame rate's bringing me out of it because the stuttering is just so bad. I'm more scared of the stuttering than I am something coming out and getting me. Hello, Mr. Bear. You are massive. What happened?
Thanks.
What are you doing? Who are you?
Whoa, pardon me, excuse me. My name is Edward Carnby, private investigator. I hope you don't mind we let ourselves inside.
I do mind. This is private property. You can't just barge in here.
I'm sorry about all this, but I'm looking for my uncle. It's urgent, and no one was answering the door.
We can't hear you knocking anymore. None of us can.
Who is your uncle, darling?
Jeremy. Am I right? She has that Heartwood gloom, doesn't she?
That's right. I'm Emily Hartwood. I just came to make sure my uncle is all right.
Well, he is unavailable right now. You will have to come back another day.
Unavailable how? Is he sleeping? We can wait.
He's lost.
Don't I know you from somewhere?
Who's your man again, Miss Hartwood?
My name's Edward Carnby, private investigator.
Splendid.
Enough! All of you! Get back to your rooms! McCarthy, keep your eyes on the child. And you two, please leave immediately.
Look, we're not here to cause any trouble. Just let us see the old man, satisfy the curiosity of my client here, and we'll be off.
Jeremy has gone missing. There's no need to worry, but it might be some time before he turns up. The whole staff is looking for him.
What? He ran off?
I don't have time for any of this. Please, come back tomorrow.
All right, in that case, we'll just wait in his room. You don't mind, do you? It's upstairs, right?
Wait, you can't.
Don't worry, we'll be discreet.
In the corridor. It's the first door on your left. I'll tell Dr. Gray you're here.
Excellent. Thank you, madam.
Okay, I don't understand. Is this guy's residence? Or is this a nut house? Because there's other residents here. Clearly, they're not family. So is this her uncle's place, or is this just some random place? Explain this to me. And why is there such a glint on his vest? It looks like he's wearing
Let's look around.
rhinestones.
See if we can dig up any clues.
Man, frame rate, hold together. Locked box. Won't let me do nothing with it. Can't see. Well, you can see your reflection in the mirror, but man, that is some low frame rate crap. They seriously couldn't make that look a little better? And it kills the frame rate, by the way, just to look in the mirror. Steamer trunk lock. My mom has like 5 of those that she got from my grandma.
Anything important I should look out for? Did he keep a diary?
Not that I know of, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Commonplace
Every night
book.
the dark man stands opaque at the threshold of my room, counting the days until my spirit spills out of my tired shape. Only his pallid mask shelters my remaining sanity. Staring directly into the face of that demonic sultan would surely sunder time itself. Would he have looked the same to my father as he struggled for his life? Does his veiled face haunt my niece quite the same way? I wish so that I could rest my soul in that sunburnt convent of Teruel. Would I find you there, Juan? Or Senora Perosi, back from the beyond? Every night I hide from him, moving from one misshapen memory to another. Scenes conjured out of fantasy and delirium. Places I struggle to even paint. I wish I understood your death, Senora. Is there anything I could do for you but bury you in that bleak necropolis? That triumphant chapel rising above the ledges and the oven vaults shall be your sepulchre, where you may rest, and I shall weep. How did you first come to understand such things, Senora? How did you know that the battered boiler in the basement would lead me to Lafayette Cemetery? Or how the old upstairs clock, with its astronomical motifs, would take me to that hateful mound outside of Claremont Harbor? Those are my memories, my past. Is there perhaps a chance, if ever so small, for me to see Tarawaya? Oh, I want that more than anything. Please, let my talisman take me there. Let me sit with Juan under his Bodhi tree. Despite having sold me that talisman, Miss Jackson, the voodoo priestess, revealed none of her secrets to me. That's why I had to travel to Tonka. Instead, she cruelly told Baptiste, my caretaker, that he would be betrayed and killed in the most awful way, that the one he loved would pierce his thigh with a sharp spear, and that he would be devoured by his own mother. What a terrible thing to say.
So again, messing with voodoo is not exactly the best thing for you.
The people of Deseto are becoming dangerous. They do not understand what they are doing. I must do something to stop them. I tried talking to Dr. Gray, but he confuses my worries. He's caught up in treating me. How can he expect evil to be cured with medicine and conversation? The orderlies, the housekeeper, and the patients are all deranged. They will call upon evil to enter this world. All will be lost. Everything. Unless I can find the clerk, Mr. Waite. He seems to be a clear-thinking man. Maybe Beauregard.
Okay, so her uncle seems to genuinely believe that the patients and the old spiteful woman and the orderlies are all like conjuring a demonic ritual or something.
The dock man offered me a prison, and I accepted. I signed that miscarried contract and entered the dock pact. Everyone is safe, except for me.
Creepy. Never sign a contract with a dark figure. So this guy was like a proper painter, sculptor. That skull is, and that withered man that looks like he's taking a selfie. That is some creepy, disturbing imagery.
I found a book full of peculiar notes. Have you heard of something called Tarawaya?
No. What's that?
I might be reading too much into this, but I think it's the place he wants to go to.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a clue.
Anything over here? Looks like the only normal painting the guy's painted right there. Okay, now I can play the puzzle. Okay, clearly that's the center. Clearly that's the bottom. They didn't make these puzzles too hard, did they?
Hey, you know anything about this? Looks like some sort of talisman.
No, I don't. Oh, help me out here, will you?
Lady, you're sitting on the ground pulling at something. How hard can it be? It's a picture frame.
I would have killed a guy to throw some of this stuff out. I'd be crazy too if I had this much junk lying around.
Oh, wow. That's striking.
That is very creepy.
I want to
looking.
save this one.
Save this one? You're not throwing out his possessions. Reflection, the power of something we're certain. There's that talisman looking thing.
All right, come on. I want to go see Dr. Gray.
She just happened to have an art thing there.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Okay, the fact that she went only to that one spot, didn't look for anything else, took the painting.
Miss Hartwood.
I think that
Emily?
she knows something's going on. That would be very creepy.
What the hell is going on? Where am I?
Now we're in a town? Investigate the corner store. Why would that become my objective?
Detective Carnby couldn't believe his eyes. The French Quarter scene before him was dark and sinister. The only sign of life he could see from Jeremy's balcony was the light coming from a lone corner store.
So how am I supposed to get down there? I guess I just leave through the front door. This place already looked creepy, and now it looks creepier. And now they're throwing their first monster at us. Thanks for giving me an additional bullet. Can I, like, knife it or something? Or is it just going to...
Ah!
Oh, shit!
Ugh! Yeah.
Quit reloading the whole dang thing, just shoot! Holy crap. Where'd the other one go? That just looks like it's taken over with... like a person that's been flayed and covered in vines. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a Christ symbolism because of the thorn of crowns and all that. Because there's clearly a lot of religious subtext in this game. I wouldn't put it past them. Kind of reminds me so far of like Clive Barker's Undying, if you remember that game. Again, it was kind of an older game. I don't know how well some people would remember it, but it is a really good game. Now we're in the French Quarter. So the corner store was supposed to be which way? Bullets. Okay, I guess the fog's going to prevent me from going...
I can't go that way.
Yeah. More bullets. So dark the flashlight barely helps. And he has no melee attack. I thought he'd at least have like an Evil Within style smack or a knife attack. Why would I go sprinting when I don't know the area? Johnny the Conqueror's Roots and Medicine. Holy crap, that's a big
Don't
dude.
let them get inside, combat. They're not the good kind.
Is this your store?
There are no owners here. We both strangers in Jeremy's story.
Jeremy did this. How?
The pact with the Dark Man. Jeremy warned us, but we didn't think much of it.
I'm Detective Edward Carnby. I was hired by Jeremy's niece to find him.
Oh, yeah? How much she paying you?
$150.
She's sure getting her money's worth tonight.
Damn
You
straight,
thank
my
the
friend.
man, combat.
No, not if I can help it.
You know, I think Jeremy's hiding in a way we can't find him. He has this juju necklace that guides him.
The talisman?
That's right. It's some magic charm he got from Miss Jackson down the street.
The voodoo priestess?
You know surprising things, compadre. Yeah, the Mama Loa. Here, take the key. I locked the gate to save her place from all the ghouls and goblins getting inside. Maybe if you go there, you can find some clues to show you the way.
Thanks. I'll have a look.
Creepy. So that's Baptiste, the one that she threatened to have killed. Preserved reptile. Goat without horns. A bullet. So Jeremy made a pact with someone called the Dark Man, and his memories or something are becoming reality? Explain to me how this works. And now there's some sort of monsters roaming the streets.
You want to come along?
Nah, I'm gonna stay here for a while.
Anything else you can say to him?
Anything I can do for... Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Baptiste, just tell my sister Lottie I'm alright if you see her.
Okay. Can't go that way. How do you... Oh, you just say the old-fashioned, or the modern way. I thought it was going to be like typewriters. Well, I'm going to end this episode here. I'm going to say so far the game is interesting. Would I call this so far fantastic, like Alone in the Dark set a standard and now the remake is breaking new ground from the first hour in? No. I do have some things I'll say about this game from the first hour. The performance is shit, putting it nicely. The story is interesting. It's got that Amnesia and Soma flair. I will say hiring the writer from those games was a great call, because one of the things I loved about Soma especially was the world building, the interesting stuff. Like, why is things the way it is? There's a mystery. And honestly, beyond the horror, you want to find out what is just going on. And that's still here in this game. There's an interesting plot involving like religious symbols and voodoo and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, isn't the Dark Man supposed to be like a Baron Samedi sort of reference? Because he's the god of wine and death or something in voodoo belief, isn't he? I'm not certain. I just know him from Smite, pretty much. And other than that, the gunplay is not very good. I don't know if it's to make the horror more intense or something, or just the way the animation is combined with the stuttering. But the way that creature was moving at me, I just could not get a good shot. I missed like 3 shots. And then when it got up and started hitting me, I was backed against the wall, and I let go of shooting thinking, oh, I could push it off me or stab it or something. And there's no melee attack. I knew when they said it's from the guys behind Soma and stuff that the combat would not be super great. But honestly, just they're clearly taking a lot of influence from modern Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, and especially 7 with like the Louisiana motif. Do what that game did. Instead of having me press a bloody button to open a door, let Carnby just open the door or just press up against it and say locked and have the little X over it or whatever if it's locked. Having to press a button, it makes it feel like a PS2 game. You know, like Silent Hill or something, and it was just doing that to mask the loading times. And then the graphics for this game, I think saying it looks like early PS4 is the nicest thing I can say. I could say it looks like a HD remaster of a PS3 game, and I'd say that's more realistic. If you remember something like those 2014, 2013-ish PS4 games, like Murdered Soul Suspect, and a couple other things that were like releasing on both the PS4 and the PS3, that's what this looks like to me. That kind of similar appearance. The graphics are not good, and the performance is terrible. But the story's intriguing, and the voice acting is extremely well done. So I'm interested to play more of this game. Maybe by the time we record another episode, there'll be a performance patch. I might wait a day or two to play this just in hopes of a performance patch. And other than that, it's okay. But as of right now, on the day of release, which of course this video won't come out till at least a day or two later, would I buy this game for $60 from what I've seen of it? No. At least not on PC. I don't know if the consoles are faring much better. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening.